So I've started the recording, and welcome everyone. We're so excited to have you today for building belief in and then writing emails. That's S.O.A.R. And while I go over the housekeeping, if you could just drop your name or your company in the chat and what you hope to learn from the session today in the chat, just so we can kind of interact a little bit and get to know one another. So we're so excited that you're here, and it's going to be really great. And I think everybody knows me, but I'm Sarah. I'm the Business Incubation Program Coordinator at Innovate Springfield. And today we have Innovate Springfield member Chad Graue with us to talk about email, and it's going to be really exciting. So we're recording this session and we'll post it to our YouTube channel after. So don't feel like super stressed. You can catch the recording after. And we want this to be casual and interactive. So please do drop your questions in the chat or your comments as they come to you so that we can interact and engage with one another. And then finally, we strive to provide you with the most relevant and best content that we can. So please do complete the evaluation that I'll send to you after the program ends and provide your feedback to us. So that's everything that I have for my little introduction. So now I'm going to pass the mic over to Chad so we can get started.
Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and share my screen here, and we'll get my housekeeping side of things squared away. Let's see. You guys, all right, are we all good to go here on your end? Can you see my screen here?
Yes, it looks beautiful, and I can hear you crystal clear.
Okay, good deal. All right, is this big enough? I might try, let me move some things around here. I usually use a, multiple, that's the wrong one second. Present. I usually use two, oh, is that better? Bigger? Everybody see everything a little bit better now?
That looks better, yes.
Cool. And real quick, Sarah, just on my end, will you be monitoring the chat, or should I be monitoring the chat? How do you typically do that?
I'm happy to monitor the chat for you, Chad.
Okay, if you could do that, that way, that would help. And if you just feel free to interject at any time.
Okay, I will.
All right, cool. All right, well, hey, everybody, thanks again for the opportunity to get in front of you today. My name is Chad Graue. As Sarah said, I live in Chatham. I've been in Central Illinois. I was born and raised in Lincoln. I've been in Chatham since 2003, and I've been a member at Innovate since 2017. I'm old school. So I've been down there. I've got an office. So over the last probably 3.5 years, I've been working only with farms that sell grass-fed beef, pork, chicken, eggs, cheeses, direct to consumer online. So someone's at their computer, they want to buy a box of frozen beef or whatever, it shows up on their doorstep. So really, especially during COVID, it was a crazy year, obviously from March, April, May. But what I typically work with these businesses and farms is really helping them build enduring customer loyalty and use email and using newsletters, email automation to be able to grow their business. So I think with that in mind, that's where I live. It's e-commerce. So I still think that a lot of the principles that I will be sharing today are relevant to any way that you communicate. So I've tried to do that, although some of the examples I share will be more specific to e-commerce. So maybe you're selling consulting or a high ticket item or events. I still think that many of the things that we'll talk about today will be applicable to you. So again, building belief in writing emails at S.O.A.R. And so we'll talk about what S.O.A.R is in just a bit. But first, 1 second, let me get my, sorry. Okay, so first, I had to get my setup here squared away to advance slides, but email is dead. So this is something that was kind of matriculating a few years ago. No one uses email, no one opens email. With the momentum that so many social platforms were gaining, and the amount of time that people spend on social platforms and new ways to communicate that come in on social platforms, it seems like every platform has stories now. I think even Twitter has them now. They're called I forget what they're called, but they're on Twitter now. So I think when a lot of people think of advertising or connecting with people, they tend to think that social and email gets a little bit had been getting a little bit of that was archaic or whatnot. I'm here to tell you that's a lie. So emails is in fact not dead, and if anything, it's gaining momentum. I'm not sure. We're going to talk just for like 30 seconds on different email platforms today, but one of the things, one of the platforms that I have used a little bit is called is Convertkit. It's a pretty simple one, and their founder Nathan Barry, he has a podcast, thank you, for called the Art of Newsletters, and there's these other platforms like Substack where people are actually having paid newsletters, like paying for information, which I'm a fan of. Information is absolutely a product, and advice is a high value product. So people are actually paying to read newsletters. So email is most certainly not dead. It has plenty of momentum, and actually a lot of the platforms that are out there are they're only integrating with more and more other tools. So can do a lot more cool things. So we're going to start with the belief building side of things, because as you know, if you don't believe in something, then it's really hard to dedicate time to doing it. So whether it's anything started, doesn't have to be business related, but certainly we're going to talk about how we can do that with email. And I will have it in just a little bit more background. I do have some more some examples, some before and after, so to speak, some real tangible things you can look at. A lot of this will be just conversational in nature, and so hopefully you have something to write with or type with, and we'll go from there. So we'll start with working down this list of ways that I'm going to hopefully get you excited and say, yep, this is something I really should be doing. Or maybe it's something that, yep, I'm even more confident that my approach is right. Okay. So ownership. First off, you own your email list. When you grow an email list, it is yours. Maybe you've been subject to a algorithm change on Facebook. Maybe you've been subject to an algorithm change with Google, and you depend heavily on organic traffic, and all of a sudden there's an algorithm change, and your organic traffic decreases by 50%, right? So with email, you own your list. You have complete control over how often you can and want to communicate. Not something to be abused, but it's something just to be aware of. So you own your email list. You don't own Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or all these other things, right? Distribution. There are like, I've seen a few different numbers, but HubSpot, I read today or yesterday when I was doing a little bit more final prep, there's 4 billion with a B email addresses. People have email addresses. And because think about this, how do you log into your social platforms? With your email address almost all the time. So everyone has an email address for the most part. Now, some may check it more than others, but everyone has an email address. Not everybody has necessarily Instagram. I'm on it. I have an Instagram account. I haven't really opened it for several years. I'm not on Facebook as much as I used to be. So, but I always check my email. So that's just a thought. Distribution, a lot of people have email addresses, okay? Access. So access and exposure are kind of the same thing, but I want to talk about them in a few different ways. So access. It's pretty cool when you have a email campaign that's scheduled to go out to, whether it's 1,000 people, 100 people, 50,000 people, and you hit send or you schedule it to go out at a certain time, and you look on Google Analytics, and as soon as you hit send, you see your traffic, spike, or you see that an email is sent to, 40,000 people, and in the first minute, 5,000 people have opened it. It's instant access, especially if you're setting expectation and building momentum to the timing of that email being sent. So direct access, immediate, which is pretty cool. Exposure. I will take even a 20% open rate over a 2% exposure rate on a social post. So it's just more exposure. Well, actually, let me clarify one more thing too. Social media is great. I'm just trying to tonight, I'm trying to let you know that there are many things that many ways that email can contribute to your business, and really all sales channels are great. I'm just trying to really help you build belief in email. And I really believe in the exposure of email is downplayed compared to sometimes on social, okay? So dialogue. Dialogue is a beautiful thing, especially with a prospective customer or with any type of customer. Dialogue is a conversation. Conversation is a great metric to potentially track, because when you're conversing with people, they're showing interest, and you can help them overcome objections, and you can help them feel your vision and your excitement about your product. So dialogue is awesome. Now, oftentimes with social, if someone's doing an Instagram live or they're doing have a Facebook story, it's truly monologue. It's just broadcasting. Okay. So with email, we have the opportunity to engage in some dialogue to help move conversations forward. So I have a couple of examples here. It seems like there's a little bit of a delay when I am, I just got to click. Okay, so this is one of the emails that I automate for my farms, a very similar one. It looks like it's from a friend. That's intentional. There's no logos. There's not any pictures. This is sent when somebody has created an account to buy something, but within the first 7 to 10 days after not buying, they get this very simple email. And we want people, you don't get emails like this. If you're creating accounts on things, you don't get emails like this, but this is the type of email that invites conversation and dialogue to get questions answered. So again, we just want to try to help. Hey, you haven't found something that you're looking for. How can we help? Okay. So this is a high value email. Okay. Here's another one. This is one that we send to people customers who have bought, but then have not rebought. So let me just kind of tell you a little bit about this one, and I don't expect you to probably read it. Essentially, it's just asking for feedback. If you have customers that go inactive, they follow a habit with doing business with you, it seems like that would be a great opportunity to figure out why. So you can maybe re-engage them. Maybe they moved, or maybe they just forgot, or maybe something happened, or oftentimes you're going to get really useful feedback. So we have this as an automated email. It's very personal. It's very conversational. If you look at the voice, it's just being honest. We don't want a survey. Like, we actually generally care about your words. Like, we're not going to have you just click a 1 through 10. Okay. So it's dialogue. Using this platform to engage in real one-to-one dialogue, where does it feel like it's coming from the owner of this business is asking how I felt, or just being okay with me telling them, hey, you guys sucked for a while, so here's why. So that's a really valuable thing. So dialogue is really, really a key part of email. Okay. It's an ascension vehicle. So you have somebody what I mean by that is you have somebody who arrives on your website, and or you meet them at an event. However, they're a new lead. Okay. And ideally we have them, we get them to become a subscriber in some capacity. We get them to maybe create an account, if that's what the next step is. If they have to create an account, again, I'm talking a lot of e-commerce here, whatever that next step is for you. And then they become a customer for the first time, and then become a repeat customer for after that. And then become a multi-repeat customer and a brand evangelist. So email is a great way to really drive home, use that as a vehicle to drive home and help people ascend, because of the multiple different ways. And one of the things I'll talk about next week is some of the more advanced strategies we can use to really personalize someone's experience. But having a consistent message that they're getting from folks, from business owners, that helps them to build trust and to gain confidence and to have enduring experiences with your brand. Email is one of the ways that you can do that. And certainly we view social media as a very complementary to help and have multiple touch points, but email is another way that you can do that. Traffic. Emails, when you send emails and you have links to your website, people go to your website more often. So I actually have a graphic that's pretty cool here. So I have a couple of different things. Actually, I sent this out as an email, okay, to my email subscribers. So what this identifies here is every time we send a newsletter, a Sunday newsletter once a week. So this blue line indicates traffic to the site. The pink line indicates orders. So every time we send an email, people at the site. When people on their site, what people do, they're more likely to buy if they're on your website, if you're in e-commerce, or if you have a store on your online, versus not. So I think it looks very healthy, kind of like an arrhythmia, or not an arrhythmia, a like normal heart rhythm. So this is something that's really good to see. Every time we're sending an email, we're getting people to the site, right? So really, really important. Okay, next, return on investment. For the sake of time, there's eons of data on the return on investment side of things. So that's something that you can actually, hold on a second. Got to get my dog out of my room here. if you joined late, we were talking about I was doing pet maintenance before the start, so I could try to avoid any interruptions, but I failed. Okay, so return investment for the amount of money that you invest in email, huge return investment. If you can just Google sales channels, it's a very profitable sales channel. Okay, from a time perspective, one of the things that and I built one of my businesses being on Facebook much of the day, getting out the 3 to 5 posts to stay relevant. And that was effective, but it also was pretty tiresome. One of the things, trying to come up with that much content every day. That's why I've never adopted stories personally. I know that that's just my experience. But with email, I love the thought of having once a week, sending a very high value thing that I can put on my calendar, and it is incredibly effective. One day a week, schedule the time in, do it, set the expectations coming, get results. It leverages my time well. So it takes less time. That being said, there will be campaigns. You have to sit down on the calendar, set some time out and say, you know what, I got to build up this email campaign, but then you do it once and it's on repeat. Because even some of them, even like MailChimp, which is I highly recommend if you're just getting started, that's a great platform to try. That is one that has even some really basic automation sequences that can be put into place where someone subscribes or you put them on your list, and then X day they get this email, a few days later they get this email, and so on and so forth. So the time commitment really from a ongoing throughout the year connecting with my audience to stay relevant takes less time. Leverage, I kind of went into this a little bit, okay, but leverage, you can leverage your time with automations. And again, there are platforms out there where you can schedule posts on social platforms. You can also do it with email. You don't have to just sit down and say, oh, well, damn, I got to send an email to my list. You know, you can do that, scheduled out, and then we have probably close to 100 different emails that go out for the automations I set up, depending on where someone's at in the funnel, depending on the last time they bought, depending on what type of educational content they like. And so you can really leverage your time. So you're not just sending a weekly newsletter, you're doing that, but you have all these other things that you can do that are customer touch points while you're at the softball game watching your daughter, or you're on a date with your spouse. So those are things that I really like about email. So those are just some, I'm sitting down preparing for this. I'm like, those are some of the things that came to mind right away for me. There's probably more, but those are at least some of the things I wanted to cover. So before I kind of move on, is there any questions that have come up?
I did not see any questions in the chat yet.
Okay,
cool. General feedback about how people do engage with their email and do open and use their email.
Awesome, very good. Okay, so quick drink here. So how can you be successful? How can you soar with email? So let's start with kind of breaking down that acronym, I guess what it's called. So S stands for sent. How do we write emails that get sent? Okay, that's step one. So first is getting to the I believe part, like the belief, like, okay, I get it. Like, this is a sales channel. This is a channel that I want to connect with my folks. This is something I'm going to do. Okay. And I believe it's going to work. It may not work, like you may not hit send on your first one and be like, let's retire, but you might, over time, you'll get good at it. Okay. So having that belief, choosing a platform, maybe you've already started, maybe you haven't started. There's different platforms that are probably better fits for different types of businesses. If you're looking to send a weekly newsletter or a monthly newsletter and have a basic onboarding or on-ramp sequence, then MailChimp or Convertkit, maybe Constant Contact. I've never used Constant Contact at all, but for sure, MailChimp and Convertkit, which Convertkit can do some really cool things. Those are great platforms to start with, okay? Choose a platform. I'm in e-commerce, I use Drip 99% of the time. I know that there's one called Klaviyo, ActiveCampaign that I know do a lot of different automation type things. So, but choose your platform, okay? You don't need to invest in a several $100 a month platform to send emails, okay? And some of these platforms have free plans, I believe, at least until you reach a certain subscriber count. So MailChimp and Convertkit, great options for newsletter and basic starting automations. Making the time at the best time. So I don't know when your best time of the day is. Mine is not after 2 o'clock. Like I go downhill, especially if I'm trying to use like my best creative energy. But 6 in the morning, 9 in the morning, after I've maybe, walked or been on my bike, where I'm like, that I know like I can do this and I can do it well. That's a really key thing, is finding your best energy, knowing when that is. Maybe it's 10 o'clock at night. And there was, when I grew my last business, that's when it was like, kids are to bed, get to work. So I have to work at my next job tomorrow. So that was a key time for me. But making the time is the other important part of this. And one of my top tips here, if you're taking anything away, is don't sit down to write your email to have it sent, send directly after. If you have an email that goes out on Tuesday, have it done by Sunday at the latest. If you have it, or something of that nature, don't sit down and say, yep, it's time to send my email. Because then something's going to come up. You're not going to do it. It's going to take longer for you to write it. You're going to be pissed off. You're going to hate that you're doing this. You're going to be later than normal. Ideally, you have a set time where you do it. And then it's like so for me, Tuesdays at 10, that's when I get my emails. I know James Clear has like 1 million subscribers. James Clear is amazing. He wrote the book Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it. His comes on Thursdays between 10 and 11. Nathan Barry, the guy I like with Convertkit, Tuesdays between 10 and 10:30. So it's like a show, right? It's like a show. I know that Survivor, when it's on a Wednesdays at 7. I know that Sports Center is on at 10 o'clock. Like, I know these things. You can be that with your email. Okay, so people expect it. We'll get to that in a second. KISS, keep it simple. Don't try to write this ginormous multi-section email if you're just getting started. Just keep it simple. Okay, the KISS method of hitting send emails is really good. Just start. Okay, creating your 2 to 3 email on-ramp. So there's 2 types of emails that I've kind of already referred to. One of them is like a weekly, monthly newsletter. But then anytime you bring someone into your email ecosystem, before they get on the newsletter, I would send them like the best of the best information of what they should know about you before just dumping them into a newsletter. So some examples of that, and I went through this in much more detail in what's this? I forget what the sequence, go ahead.
Hacks.
The iHacks, thank you. The iHacks.
Shout out on YouTube.
Shout out. So I went into much more detail on that. So a welcome email, really important. Set some expectations. Be excited. Be confident. Set expectations in that email for how often you communicate. In that, for the next week, you're going to communicate a little bit more often than you normally would, just so it's not like stop. And then FAQs, that's another really important one. What questions do people have about your product if you have a physical product, or about your location, or about the events that you do? What common questions do you get so that you can proactively address objections that people have? Make a recommendation. This is what we do in e-commerce. Like, don't just assume they're going to find exactly what they want in the whole store. Like, hey, we call it tripwire offer. Like, hey, this is something that we think you should try. Have the confidence to make that recommendation and say, here's why. And we sell a lot of those things. Okay, make a recommendation. Share social proof and guarantees. Share an awesome piece of content. And yes, it says 2 to 3 email on-ramp. I'm just giving you different suggestions. You can do more. For e-commerce, I do 5 to 6 in the first 10 days, and then we back it down because that's when they're the most interested. Okay. Invite people to upcoming events if you have in person, because having the belly to belly interactions in the public is when you can is great. What's the next step? How can you say, hey, this is the next step. Thanks for your interest. Here's over the course of the last week, I've shared these things with you. Here's what you can expect next. Keep the conversation going via email. Okay, so this is just a very brief overview of how you can do that. Okay, so back to our S stands for sent. So frequency, no more infrequent than monthly. at least you got to send a monthly newsletter, and that will work. Monthly newsletters are fine. If you get every 2 months, every 6 months, that's not emailing your list. Then you're going to have terrible metrics, going to be completely ineffective. Once a month, bare minimum. Every other week, fine. Weekly, pretty tough to do, maybe to start, but a goal to work towards. But at least monthly, and then optimize for more frequent. Choosing the type of content that you can do, knowing if there are buckets of content that you can create. Are there sales emails? Are there value add or educational emails? Are there case studies? Are there recipes? Are there testimonials? It's easier for me to think about content rather than just say, okay, I got to write an email today. If I can say, okay, what's a case study I can write up, or what's a testimonial I can share? If you have the buckets, the types of content, then you can alternate the types of content you're sending, so it's a variety, and you also will have much more success with the content creation process. So identify some buckets or types of content that you can share, and absolutely sell in your email. Don't not sell, sell, but just not every email. Okay. So we have your on-ramp. We've talked about a frequency. As far as launching your newsletter, what I would recommend is write 2 or 3 or 4, get some squared away. Because then once you hit start, and you can schedule them out, once you start, then you're at least not going to stop for that first few weeks. And that's one thing that's frustrating. As you start, you build these habits, and then something comes up, and then you stop, and then it's like, heck with it, right? So start with a backlog, but keep working so that you always have kind of a backlog. Okay, this is a good habit. Okay. O, so emails that get sent. O stands for opened. How do you write emails that get opened? Let me see how we're doing on time here. Sometimes I talk a lot. We're doing okay. I'll do my absolute best to be done at 6 or sooner to allow time for questions. Okay, how do we get emails that are opened? The grand champion. Well, this is debatable. I'd say there's another one, but I will get to that one in a little bit. Be consistent. Don't be erratic. Okay. Again, I know that if it's consistent, then that just, it helps. It does help, because if there's recency, I don't forget about you. That's a key one. Okay. As I've already mentioned, set expectations. If you can, set an expectation for what you're going to cover. As you are ending the email. And next week, this is what I plan to touch base on. So keep them interested, keep the conversation going, set expectations that more emails are coming, maybe give a preview of what it's about. And as I mentioned, when you're just starting with somebody on your on-ramp, kind of let them know, I will email you more than normal this month, or more frequent this week, but then over the course of the next month after that or so, it'll be monthly or every other week, or whatever it is for your business. Set expectations. Stay relevant by knowing that once someone comes on, if you get a few emails and then you drop off, and this is kind of related to consistency, but recency matters. So what that means is, and this is a law in email marketing, even your absolute most rock solid, best prospective customer, they are the most interested when they hit submit and they join your email list, or they create an account or make a purchase. They're the most interested then. And then over time, their interest just generally decreases. And that's okay. You're not doing anything wrong. That's just normal. Okay. So stay relevant. So in their peak interest, don't go away. Okay. Be present. That's why we send more up front. Okay. A clear subject line is better than a clever subject line. What I mean by that is, you may have heard open rates, gotta trick them. You gotta get the click, gotta get the open, but don't do that and sacrifice trust. So there are some people that I would get emails from, and it's totally a clickbait email subject. And then I get the email, I'm like, yeah, my expectations were let down. So then I lose trust. So then I don't buy. So just be clear. When I have an email subject line, ideally, if I open that email, there should be momentum. It shouldn't be I don't understand. So just be aware that when you have clear subject lines, that matters. Don't try to be clever. because one of my clients, they were trying to be very clever, and I was confused. So just try not to be super clever on things. Okay. All right. Spam filters. So there's actually a pretty comprehensive list. This is probably something I need to be, somebody, you're laugh crying on this one. So, okay. All right. So spam filters, this is something I could probably be a little bit more aware of, but I know that there's certain words like to try to not use in your email subject line, like free, not a good one to use in your subject line. There's some resources out there, but just kind of be aware. Here's a good exercise. Go to your junk folder and look at all those email subject lines that you get spammed on by people you don't know, and don't do what they do. Like, they're bad people. Like, that's bad. So don't do that. So there are resources like for the email subject lines to kind of avoid or minimize use of, because it will help you be in the inbox so you can get open. Time of day kind of matters. Generally, sending emails at 9 o'clock at night, not likely to be open. In the middle of the day, less likely to be open. 7 to 9 a.m., 7 to 10 a.m., pretty good sweet spot. So time of day does matter. There is data that shows unsubscribe rates are higher after like 11 or noon. So earlier in the day is better. Okay. Day of the week. Now, this varies a little bit, B2B versus B2C, I think. I've just kind of seen this. I've had this conversation with folks. So for me, I work in B2C. I work selling to consumers. So we actually send our emails on Saturday and Sunday mornings for a few other reasons. The deadlines, again, I sell perishable food online. We have deadlines every Sunday. Any order by Sunday gets out that week. So we send the email closer to the time, at a time where they have to have some urgency to take some action, but it also just fits well. Like in the middle of someone's busy week, they're less interested in buying food, but on a Saturday or Sunday morning, it's more likely that that's when many people are grocery shopping or preparing for the week, and it makes sense. But a business executive who is checked out for the weekend and gets an article about something on the B2B side, may be less interested or less than if it's on Monday morning or Tuesday morning, where it's kind of in the middle of their work mindset. So there's no science behind that. I can't quote articles, but I've had some conversations about that, and I think that that's a fair thing. Okay, just test it, just kind of see how things go for you there. Be conversational, talk like you talk. It's endearing. It's actually more personal. You get the interaction feels more like from a friend. It matters. So just talk how you talk. And then the last one, which I want to put first, but I don't want to scare anybody. Be great. Like, I read great emails, but it's okay if you're not great to start. Nope, nobody is. Even James Clear, he has 1 million subscribers, probably sucked when he started. Okay, just be okay with not being great, but strive to be great. That's one way that you can help your open rates. If people are expecting your emails, then that's a win. Okay, A stands for acted on. So emails that are sent, emails that are opened, emails that are acted on. Okay. So white space. I love white space. You may have noticed from my simplicity of my slides, like I make it really easy for you to see what I want you to see. And that is actually really important when it comes to having people make decisions. So don't confuse me with too many things. Okay, but white space, don't send big, we're not reading a book. Okay. Don't have paragraphs, like super big paragraphs. People, especially nowadays in the age of tweets and all that, people aren't, you got to be able to scan. Okay. Have symmetry. If you have, images, if your images are, all different sizes and your buttons are all different sizes, this is a legit thing. Like, it's easier for your brain to process and follow along and make a decision. That's why if you look at a sales page that people spend thousands of dollars to have created by professionals, like there's a flow to them for a purpose. Emails can be the same way, even if it's a newsletter. So be aware, how do things present to my eye? Is it easy for my eye to know what I'm supposed to do so my brain can make a decision? Okay. Make them scannable. How do you do that? Use the H1, H2, H3, whatever formatting. Use bullets. Use occasional bolded text or underline. Don't like over format your email, but sparsely, like okay, if there's 3 things they got to know in my 800 word email, like make it very clear like what those things are. Okay. Tell people what to do, meaning to shop the sale, to get started shopping the sale, click here. Okay. Tell people what you want them to do. Don't just have a button or a link. Tell them what to do. Have a clear CTA. And we'll get into this kind of some of my before and after examples here. So, but having a clear CTA, meaning if there's one thing you want someone to do, make sure that it's evident. Don't bury it. Don't have a newsletter where there are 6 different things addressed in one big section of your email. Have the main section where if I want you to take action on this thing, it is positioned as such. And then the other things are ancillary parts of the newsletter or the email. Okay, so let's dive into a few examples. So this is a cart abandonment email. Okay, and I'm not going to read it, but I want cart abandonment again for maybe you've probably heard this term, but if you're making a purchase and you start a purchase and then you abandon the purchase, sometimes you get emails, Facebook ads, whatnot. So generally, we try to make this a pretty brief in our encounter. But one of the things that this person used to, they were having me do way too many things for cart abandonment. They were trying to help overcome all of my objections. They were talking about too many things, and it wasn't real clear on what they wanted me to do. Okay. But again, look at the length. I could, yes, it's not terrible. It's not terrible with how they have several different paragraphs. But I could figure out, yes, click here to get back to your cart. It's not terrible, but it was improved by making it just a little. And actually, if it were me, I would like this to be shorter. Okay, the best communicators make the fewest words go the farthest. That is something to remember. Okay, so if I just need someone to jog my memory, like I can use fewer amount of words, but here it was improved a little bit, and I have them side by side, I think. Yeah. There's the copy's about 50% less, to be honest. There's a button, it catches my eye. And again, for me, I would probably take this paragraph out, just bare bones, like, hey, just as a convenience to you, wanted to send you back to your cart in case you maybe got busy, or if you have questions, here's how you can get a hold of me, but here you go. Okay. So that's one example. Okay. Next one. This is really kind of it was kind of hard to read, but this is an email that I received for opting into somebody's lead magnet. Lead magnet meaning that piece of information that you give people in exchange for their email address. So for here, it was this top 4 reasons you should know your farmer and your meat. Okay. There's 2 buttons. I don't really know who it's from. There's no branding on it. Well, there kind of is branding, but I have to really kind of look for it. And then one of my pet peeves, which take this away as well, we promise not to be spammy and overwhelm your inbox. It drives us crazy too. If you would like to get text messages, text us to get Farm Club. Let's see, I'm trying to think what else here. Oh, to help your emails stay out of spam, add our email address to inbox. So bottom line, there was way too much going on here. This person just wants their free thing, okay? And to go on a little bit more, don't talk about being spammy, because it makes the connection that your name was spam. Just don't talk about spam. Just don't spam people. But you don't have to say, we're not going to do this, okay? All right, so the after of this one, much more clear, okay? There's branding here. Here's my thing that you wanted, and here's how to connect with me, okay? So you can see them side by side, much easier for me to take action. I didn't do a button here, could have done a button, but easier to kind of move forward. Okay, so those were just some of the formatting, a lot of formatting things, a lot of acted on, make it easy for people to interact with you. Now, R stands for results. So emails that get sent, emails that get opened, emails that get acted on and then emails that get results. And these last two kind of go together. Any questions, by the way, so I can like, anything going on here?
Yeah, haven't seen any questions, just
Okay.
general comments about the content.
Okay. Good. Okay, so there will be time for questions at the end. Oh, I'm assuming we're doing pretty good on time. So by all means, if you could, you're more than welcome to ask them.
20
Cool.
minutes.
Okay. All right. R stands for results. And I will go through specific examples here. I'm going to pull up a few different emails and show the transformation, how for the main client I've worked with for 3.5 years, kind of where they started and where they are now, kind of at least kind of how we transitioned there. So you can see kind of what that looks like. And I'm talking really about a newsletter here. I'm a huge fan of newsletters just because it's a great way with email to stay in touch, say, hey, here's what's happening this week. Here's the things you have to know. Here's something cool I learned this week. Oh, look at these cool pictures that we took from this thing. But it's really, really important. But have it be multi-section. So Sarah does the newsletter for Innovate, and she had made a few changes in the last few months. And one of the things I really love is how you can like click on buttons to get to things that are interest you right near the top of the email. Like, super awesome job, well done. But there's there are multiple different sections, from the education to the events to the trainings we have. So it's easy for me to understand. I can scan it and I say, yep, this is what I'm interested in. If it was all bunched up in one big section, I would be like, no can do. Like I can't figure out what you want me to do. So just be aware, yes, have multiple sections, but always have a primary section that if they can read one thing, it's at the top, okay? We'll get there. Have a goal with your email, okay? And now sometimes it could just be that the goal is educating people. There may be no buttons. There may be no nothing. It just should be like, here's an awesome email, okay? But ideally, even on that email where there's no buttons, it could be to invite engagement. So at the end, say, now it's your turn. Like, what was the number one thing you took away from this? Like, just again, invite engagement, invite responses. The other secret hack of that, which I believe I talked about this in one of my other hacks as well, is that's really, really good for your email metrics and for your email service provider to see that there's two-way communication with the emails you send. So it increases your delivery rate. It improves your delivery rate, and so it's a win. Plus, you're interacting with your people. Okay. One other side note I forgot to touch base on the dialogue. It is the other part about dialogue is that it creates the opportunity in the future, because you're learning from your audience, from your subscribers, from your customers, to create dialogue, to create better dialogue, so that yes, there's dialogue in the beginning, but in the future it can be more monologue, where you are broadcasting because you've invested the time to ask people and get feedback and know what they want to hear, and then it helps build content ideas for you in addition to improving your business. I don't know if that makes sense, but dialogue is what will lead to the monologue that's really effective. Okay. As far as having a goal, invite engagement, invite people to share things, invite whether it's on a different platform, or what I generally mean by engagement is respond. I'd love to hear what you took away from this, or what questions you have, or what's your favorite resource. I'd love your opinion. That's another one. Like, value someone's opinion, not just like, what'd you learn from me, right? It's not only about you. Like, I'd love what knowledge do you have that you can share with me. Take them on a social tour on occasion. Like, hey, send them to your YouTube for a video. Send them to your, tell them you have something going on your Instagram at X time this week. You'd love for you to join me, because when people are invested in your business on multiple platforms, that's a good thing. Okay. Over time, you don't have to be on all the things. I'm very big on not having overwhelm. Very big. Okay. Watch a video, read an article. Again, there's generally always try to have a goal that will help. Buy this thing. That's a big one. I like that one. All right. Do a launch. That's one of the things that I help my clients with in e-commerce, is basically having a seasonal big thing that we can build up awesome content for, have an incredible offer, and then it goes away. You kind of like pre-sell on your product with your email. And then you say, here's this awesome thing. Here's this awesome price. Here's how you like it. By the way, you have this next 7 days to purchase it. And then it goes away. And I do that several times a year. So you can get results with things like that in your business, whether it's, and maybe it's launching an event. Maybe it's promoting an event. It's another big thing that I did with my last business. We had events. I would, drip out information a little bit at a time. Number 9 thing you should know about what you're going to learn at this event. Number 8 thing you should know, and having just building touch points and building excitement and momentum is really big. So whether it's, building up a promotion of an event or you're sharing a new product, it's really important. Be personal. And what I mean with be personal, and this is where we'll talk more next week. I've already talked about being conversational, but you can make very personal emails to people based upon the activity they're taking on your site or the number of orders they've placed or haven't placed. Or so that's using some of the advanced automation. If somebody, some of the email platforms know subscribe or customer data, you can use that in email. So being personal, and this is another I Spy. I'm all about the I Spy hacks tonight, but I had another one like personalization isn't hi Peter in email. Like that's not really, it is, but it's like, I would watch the I Spy hack because I go into much more detail there. Like acknowledge that, hey, thank you for being a loyal customer of us. Like when you reach out to people, they know that I'm not just a name. Like they know that I'm actually a supporter of their business. Like you can do that. Okay, so this is where I'm going to do my best to. All right, I got to stop presenting. Oops, we'll get back to that in a second. And I got to go to my desktop here. Okay, so let me pull up some examples and make sure that you can everything still works just fine once this pulls up. All right, so you can, hopefully this is loading. Can you see my email here? Sure, doing good? Okay, so this is one of my main client that I've worked with, great partners, love working with them. This was when I had just started working with them in 2017. And actually, email was a really strong sales channel for them back then. It was actually good. Now it's been great. But this is kind of when they were using MailChimp to connect with their audience.
1 second, Chad. What I'm seeing right now is some data, a spreadsheet.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Let me maybe I'm not done on the preserve mode. 1 second. That's something else. Let's see. Oh, I know. I got to stop sharing for just a second. I'll share one more. I'll share something here. One more thing here.
No worries.
I'm looking for just my desktop. Oh, here we go. Now I'm probably good. And let me pull up this email. Now, can you see this email?
Happy New Year from the team.
Yes. Okay. So this is my farm client. Again, email was a good sales channel for them back then. We've really spent a lot of time on it. But this was when they were using MailChimp, doing a lot of good things here. Got a picture, very personal, very clear headline at the top. That was what the subject line was. Happy New Year. There's momentum right away. That's all good things. They're showing like behind the scenes. I feel connected with them. It's plain like, hey, it's like a person emailing me, not just this farm. Like it's a person. Has a picture, just very brief. This is actually a very brief email. But then they went on and, there's a couple different sections. There's a picture here and there's doing some good things here. It's again, their format, it's easy to consume. There are pictures, generally trying to help people have a better year next year. Nothing related to buying meat, just like, hey, these are some of the resources we use to help us, grow as people and trying to share those, have goodwill, right? So, but then we get into, this was like a delivery schedule. They shared a delivery schedule, okay? And then they shared a pickup schedule. Okay, fair enough, okay? And there's all these different ways, these different stops they're making on their trip, okay? And I'm gonna get into why this is important as I kind of go through these, okay? But just pay what we're seeing here, okay? Sunday inspiration, okay? Quick links, okay? A lot of things going on down here. Outside of your delivery area, buy here. So this is where, follow us. So this is where there is quite a bit going on, okay? So all good things, looks pretty good. It's easy for me to make decisions, but I could argue that, okay, if we're looking to optimize things, you're doing good. How can we be great? What things really does everyone not necessarily have to see? Okay. So that's that. Oops, there's my email. Okay. So that was example one. That was when we first started. Then within the first few months, we moved to a different platform. And again, this is a little bit, the logos, this is so old, the logo's gone. But just here's a couple things that we did a little bit different, okay? And again, it's probably maybe even a little bit less sexy than the other one, but we had a picture here, no big deal. Let me try to go down here. We consolidated some of the information. Mostly, actually, this was not even really that great of an example. This was just us moving to a new platform, and we did eliminate just a handful of things, okay? So this was the second iteration. We're just moving to a new platform. And again, this is what I want. This is one of the things I want you to see. I don't want, if you can make things not confusing for your customers, that's always going to be good. If there's information that doesn't apply to everyone, and some of these more advanced platforms can have you show information that's only relevant to that specific person based upon their data. So after getting to know how their business worked, one of the recommendations I could make to them was that, like, I'm a home delivery customer because I live in Illinois. None of this applies to me. It's actually quite confusing. Like it was preventing me from being a customer. So then we can use some of the, and again, next week we'll talk a little bit more advanced stuff, just kind of plant some seeds, but then we can learn to hide this information from certain people. And I can say, or if I'm a person that lives in Valparaiso, Indiana, I don't need to know about home delivery per se. If I'm this kind of customer, I would just say, if you need to place an order, place it by January 16th at midnight for pickup in Valparaiso, Indiana on the 19th of January. And that's all they would see. They wouldn't see all this other information. So it just helps me make a decision and know, okay, well, how do I do business with this company? Okay. So last but not least is example 3. This is from one from a few weeks ago. So this will wrap up here. But again, I open this email right away. I know who it's from. I have my logo right at the top. It's not huge. It's a good size. I'm greeting people. I'm talking like a friend. Now, this happened to be a cart close email for our big event of the year. So as far as the result side of things, if you have something that you're trying to sell an email, or whether it's showing up at an event and registering for something, or buying a product, or taking the next step, whatever it is, if it's a really high value thing, like this link is a super high value link for this email. So right away in the first 1 to 2 lines, I want them to go to the sales page. It's not hidden. Okay. And I try to add some urgency here. Let's talk about, real grass-fed meat, with a quick reminder that today is the final day of the winter beef harvest sale. Like, if you got to act, do it today. We had an awesome picture, really great picture. Again, same, urgency. This was the 28th when it was sent. So it's just more things there. Again, you can see white space. We occasionally throw in the emoji here and there, not like 10 per email, but it does humanize you to throw in the occasional emoji because people use them when they communicate, but don't overdo it. And then if you select participate, enjoy the savings, basically, hey, this is what's going away. Okay. Again, fear of loss is more motivating than fear of gaining things for the most part. So that's why these launches work, because they come to a close. Okay. Click a button, make my final winter beef sale order. So make it it's personal. Okay. Oh, I better make my final order. So those are just some of the things I wanted to talk about, at least with the formatting of this. But there's a link here at the top. Some people are link clickers. There's an image here. Some people are image clickers. There's a button here. Some people are button clickers. They all go to the exact same spot, but I want to give them a way to interact with the email in multiple different ways. And we actually have UTM parameters associated with each of the links, meaning that we know which ones are clicked on the most to get people to the site, and that it actually is all spread out. Okay. So I'm going to fast forward to the rest of this email. But then you can see one of the things that we incorporated was a farm pick of the week. Well, these guys happened to go shark fishing in that week. So not being a farm pick of the week, it was something else, but we're just driving home authenticity here. We're driving home, this is who, sometimes usually it's a picture of a farm animal or it's a picture of something else, even just a beautiful sunset. We just share, here's what's going on the farm so that they can have a connection with what's happening and feel like a connected customer, okay? So we have this section, but again, it's kind of like scrolling social when you go through this, okay? You had a picture at the top. Okay, what's this? Okay, Brooks, Blaine, and Brant, or Blake, I get them all confused. Went fishing, yada, 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 okay? This actually, I kind of failed here. Usually, even we have these amazing Google reviews, I forgot to break it up, so I broke my own rule. But every week, we share social proof. Every week, social proof is king. Don't not share social proof, okay? It's king. We share it every week. We keep it fresh, okay? Share a testimonial. We had something else. Maybe somebody didn't want to participate in our winter beef harvest sale, but they are a Catholic and they know it's Lent and they want fish. So we made it really easy for them. We actually put a GIF in here, which they do increase engagement. Sometimes don't put all GIFs per se, but throw in the occasional GIF. And then again, one sentence, click this button, okay? So multiple sections. I'm thinking, how can I interact with more than just one type of person who's on our email list this week, okay? My area's order deadline. So this is where I get to the enhancement that we made with those first two sections of the email. So it used to be, here's my home delivery and here's my pickup. Now I only see what is shown to me, and there's a picture and there's one sentence and it has a time and a date, and it says place my order. So that's one of the optimizations we made, was making that easier for people to act on versus having to decipher, okay, where's my spot, okay? Think about how this can maybe apply to your business. I'm not sure if it does, but something to share. And then visit our Roanoke farm store. Get directions and visit us, making it super easy. Don't just, they have to click a button and they will show how to get to us. So a few things just to kind of wrap up with this, as we kind of shared the transformation here, is it's multi-section, okay? All the buttons are the same color. I know if I see green, that's an action thing. That's something that requires my action or how I can take some action. There's multiple sections. It's a variety of content, but the main thing that I wanted to have happen was this, is for them to take action on this sale that happens one time a year. So it got positioned at the top. There were many other things. There are some people who check this email. They're like, I don't care about the beef sale. They're like, what happened on the farm this week? And they'll scan in there and say, oh, cool. Actually, these guys went fishing. Okay, cool. I'll check back next week too. Okay. So I hope that helps. Last but not least here, we'll wrap up right on time. This was just, an example of something, one of the things that we do. Look at, this is an email. These were emails, different size farms I work with. And this one was sent to 286 people. And every person who got the email spent that much revenue was generated. 1,000 people sent the email, $50 per person. 3,000 people, $40,000. This is one email. So when you do these things right, and again, this is e-commerce-y, okay? But just know, if you put these print, and look at the unsubscribe rates, zero, okay? When you do these things right and you're consistent over time, it's an opportunity to build up to having some really robust numbers. Now, these are kind of skewed perhaps because our average order value is high, okay? It's not like a $50 thing. If it was lower, these numbers would be lower, but generating a ton of orders, okay? So results, all the things, leading to the results, okay? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, got just 2 more slides, I think. So that's kind of the S.O.A.R framework, how we send email, how we write emails and get sent, open, acted on, and get results. So next week, I'm going to dive into behavior-based and automated email campaigns, a little bit more detail. It's just planning for the future, maybe. Maybe it's something you're like, you know what, this is exactly what my business needs yesterday. Like, show me more, plant some, give me some ideas. Or maybe like, you know what, I know that I have to start a newsletter, but over time I can work doing some more of these cool things, okay? So with that, I'm gonna wrap up. At 6 o'clock, holy cow, I'm shocked. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to, answer them.
So yeah, please, anyone, if you have questions, this is a casual space. Go ahead and just ask your questions here. I haven't seen any questions come through the chat, just general, just chatter, excitement.
Awesome. Good deal.
No questions from anybody? Amy,
I
do you
kind of
have
had
ask
a general one. Yeah, it was just if you had done much with that. Just one of the organizations I work for right now, we are doing a lot more like it's like a membership email list, so it's getting people just like take action, not necessarily purchasing things. But I really was interested in that beginning. The like when people join, it's kind of the same thing as like we're trying to figure out how to get an automated email series out to them and stuff too. So I was just kind of just saying that like yeah, this. Just saying, like, I really like that idea of like trying to set these up for a sales-based system too. I never thought of how they would apply, like when people are purchasing and stuff too. So that's great.
Awesome. Great.
Amy, did you have a question? Thank you, Piero.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, Amy.
Okay. I'm using these cheap earbuds, so you never know.
I'm
just curious. Yes, I know. And this weekend, I'm so excited.
Yep.
I'm just curious if you have a formula for your nurture sequence. Like, do you hit them with like an offer on the third email, or what is that? Do you have like a system that you use for that?
Yep. So it depends on, to back up a little bit, to provide some context. If you have a high ticket item, it's really hard to convince someone to make a $500,000 purchase. Hi, I'm Amy. Nice to meet you. Here's a cool emails. Bye. That will happen, but it kind of, I could say that the higher ticket item, it's a longer sales cycle. So that's one thing. I don't think it's wrong to make a pitch on day 3 per se, but I think that just to be aware that that's a consideration. How I've done it. My framework that I've worked through is day 1, they get a welcome. Okay. And I try to set some basic expectations. I don't tell them. I just, if they're on the site and they're creating an account, or if they've subscribed, I just want to like I just want to like kind of go on a date before like proposing marriage. Right. So we're going to do that. We're going to like, it's really cool to meet you. Glad you're interested. These are, here's some of the things you can expect. I'll be back tomorrow with something else, or the next day. So that's one thing. FAQs, I'm a big like FAQs, or what objections are in the mindset of people that are on the other end of this email. Like what questions do they have? What emails am I always getting from people? Like, dang, like, so just if you have questions, that's a place to look. Like support wise, like what questions you get, automate that. Include that up front in your email sequence, in your nurture sequence, so that you can be like, oh, they've already thought of everything, right? So it just kind of helps. So I think that's a big one. It's day 3 when I actually, for a physical product that's, in the 200 average order value around the $200 range, day 3, we're saying, here's what we recommend. And actually what we recommend is like $149, which that's one that you don't, that's a size purchase that you really don't, it's that in that range. If you have to, it's like $300, $400, and $500, kind of maybe talk about with the spouse sometimes, but in the, in that lesser range, it's something that, I feel okay to do this. So day 3 is when I do that. Day 4, I think I usually take a break, or day 5, a couple days, but then it's diving into sharing social proof or testimonials. Like, here's kind of what our customers are saying. Here's what you can expect. Day 6, I usually take a break. Day 7, I think it's fair to kind of like, I would use a decision in my workflow and say, have they made a purchase yet? Did they actually follow through? If you know this information. And then if they haven't, send that, hey, I'm just following up. It's been about a week. Is there questions that I haven't addressed this week that I can help you answer? I'm happy to do that. Because again, you're still kind of in the recency phase there. You could send a really cool piece of content around day 7 or 8, and then day 10 or so, kind of send the, hey, just following up one off from a friend email. But those are the types of things that I send in e-commerce when I'm trying to get get a sale in that sequence. Social proof testimonials, a very personal, hey, how can I help? A recommendation, overcome objections, and then just like, hey, like I'm in this for the long haul with you, welcome email type thing. And then after that sequence, we have that's its own sequence. And then it's very agile, it's very short. So it's something that I can change and test. And then after that 10-day sequence in this case, then I dump them into like a 6-month long sequence. Like where I just continue to build it out. And we're looking at different, how can we teach them about different parts of our store? What's this awesome what's the broadcast newsletter that I created 3 years ago that crushed it, that I can repurpose and put into this workflow? So those are the types of things that I've done. But the first 10 days, I would just try to think those are key concepts.
So when you say a 6-month, is that for somebody who's not made a purchase yet at all? You're
Okay,
still
great question. So one of the things I do, and again, it depends on the system that is used, but everybody goes into that, because I know that the platform that I use, before I do anything, I can look, are they a customer? If not, if they made a purchase in the last X number of days, they skip that. They skip well, hey, you should really check out this thing. So I'm not sure if that makes sense, but so everyone goes into that one. It's like a long-term nurturing. It's kind of like supplementing our newsletter, but it's different stuff, if that makes sense. But I use the decisions to then send or not send certain emails. My new buyers, they're in a separate workflow, but it's not duplicative of this one. It's different things. It's like asking for a Google review. It's looking in 45 days. Okay, what's their purchase history? Have they purchased again? If not, let's show them like our customer top 5 favorites. So it's kind of like there's a campaign called Bought X but not Y. Well, just trying to show people other popular things. So however this applies to what you're doing. And then maybe in another few weeks, if they haven't bought, I'll send them a coupon for free delivery. So those are the type, they're more buyer habit related. And then I have like the long-term nurturing that's really, it's mostly content, like just like touch points of like, damn, like they really care about us. So I separate them to answer your question. I'm not sure, again, that's how what applies to the kind of the world I work in. I separate nurturing from buyers.
okay, makes sense. I've got a ways to go, but I've got a foundation, and
I
I'm moving in the right direction.
That's what Sarah Beth said. She said that you were inspired the last time we connected. Was it whatever it was? Like, was it pre-COVID when we were out there? And like, that's the night that Trump got on TV and the NBA got canceled, I think was when I spoke. And then she said you've been taking some action with your emails. So, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been really good. Yeah. I could pick your brain all night, but I don't think that would be fair.
Well, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to talk. And at some point, my nephew is turning 13 and we're going to Osaka. I have a seat at the hibachi table in 22 minutes. So, but I'm happy to obviously connect and talk. I like talking about email. So.
Also, we've got the session next week, so definitely, Amy, you should attend that. And Chad, I really appreciated how you mentioned the person that you follow who has 1 million followers. Their email started at 0, right? Like everybody starts at.
Oh, gotta be. And that's this guy, James Clear. Like, buy this book. Like, it's got 3 million copies sold, and it's not even that old of a book. It's so good. But yeah, it does. It takes time.
Right. You know? Well, thank you so much, Chad, and thank you, Amy, and thanks everybody else. And I'll see y'all next week.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Bye.